Moo and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pink Tron. I am Brent Robinson, and I'm joined today by Craig Martin. Craig, what are you drinking?
I have a Gahan, I think, 1772 India Pale Ale, and that is Gahan beer from Prince Edward Island, the smallest province in Canada for those that have never heard of it.
Also, the home of Confederation. All right. Steph Chen is here. Steph, what are you drinking?
Yesterday, the play bear from Thrive.
Very good. And I think we'll go to Sean Fogenberg. Sean, what are you drinking?
I still have my leftover Gatorade from the race that it turns out we weren't sitting and going soft enough to drink for very long. And then
No, that was rough.
I've got a gin and tonic.
Very good. And we also have Steve Pritchard. Steve, what are you drinking?
Well, I think firstly, I'm going to be selling my shares in Fanta Lemon before there's a rush on the market, as people hear Steph's not enjoying one this evening. The sales have plummeted in Belgium. I'm not sure what I'm drinking because it's in great font stuff. It's a McKellar Nordies session IPA, drink fresh, store cold, but the font's all the same size and written around the bottom of the can. So I'm not really sure. I'm guessing session IPA, drink fresh, store cold isn't the name, but I'm not sure which is the brand and which is the name there. So
McKellar is the brand.
McKellar Nordleys, I'm
Yeah, there you
guessing.
go.
Yeah, another one of the Beer 52 session IPAs, and we'll see how it goes.
Thanks.
Just in case someone thinks we take our drink recommendations more seriously than our Zwift recommendations. We also have John Keenan. John, what are you drinking?
I've got some kombucha, gingerberry.
Hmm,
It's very tart.
I can believe that. All
Yeah.
right. I have a Partake Brewing DL Blonde. And I'm doing ladder race this afternoon, evening, so gotta.
Is that from
Those
the
are good.
I do I
I've
do
had
think
that
that
partake.
it's
That's good.
necessary to point out that not only does Brent have a partake blonde, he's also got quite the throw blanket. Is your heating out? What's going on, Brent?
It's actually quite lovely here today, but my basement is very chilly today, and I just had a dress shirt on when I came down, and I didn't put a sweater on, so I just grabbed this blanket off the back of the couch outside my office. And yeah, I'm
You,
sure my grandma knitted this one when I was probably about 18. So
for UK residents, this might be a very UK observation, but if you imagine the kind of 70s knitted tea cozy, that is what Brent's rocking right now, and it looks amazing. So
I'm thinking crochet, not knitted, but I
oh
don't
yeah,
know.
probably crochet. You're probably right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think it's crocheted, and I think my grandmother had that blanket on the back of her couch.
Hmm.
If your grandmother didn't have this
there was
blanket,
only one pattern in Canada in the 40s, and they shared it around.
listen, man, it's cold here. We love our blankets.
Yeah.
And
Also, the reason why I didn't have any Fanta lemon is because it snowed again in Belgium, so it's cold enough for the coat to sneak. So couldn't be bothered to go to the shop to get a new bottle of Fanta lemon.
All right, Steve's back in on the Fanta Lemon stocks.
Speaking of places that may or may not be snowing, where's Herd Winter Racing this week, Brent?
It is on the Magnificent Eight in Watopia. We had which Sean and Steph both did race one. Did I get that right?
Craig.
Oh, Craig was
Great.
in race one.
Yes, Sean and I had a bit of a head-to-head sprint off at the end there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right. Do tell, do tell. What is a race of Magnificent Eight like?
So
It was
uh,
really, really, really hard.
I will say
Um,
that the first 5 to 15 minutes is where your placing is really going to come from. So this course, you come out of the pens and immediately go up that little hill toward the S's.
Mhm.
Our group was actually pushing really hard up
Yep.
that, or it felt like it to me. So even in the first 5 minutes, I was chasing. I ended up off the back of Craig, who was hanging on to the back of the group, and
Yep.
I'm doing 6 watts a kilo, 7 watts a kilo, just to try to get back to his wheel.
I was watching. I'm like, oh, Sean,
I got
you're
back.
not gonna make it. Oh
No,
no.
it was I got back to Stuart's wheel, who was on your wheel, and
Yeah.
I did not realize that Stuart was going backwards.
Mhm.
So I
He
sat I sat up to like, okay, I got there, and then the gap opened in front of
Yeah.
him, and it was like, oh well, there goes Craig. But I did have the wherewithal to realize that like Craig was doing the pain dangle up there.
I really was.
I noticed that like Craig was 1 second off the back of that group the whole time, and it was like, all right, well, it's not worth chasing. I'm just gonna let him kill himself, and then we'll catch him.
Which
And
did
this was
eventually happen.
this was on the little rise out of downtown where you go
So
through
it
the little
was,
tunnel.
That was
after
around the
that,
volcano.
Through the volcano.
Oh, through the volcano. And then that rise. Okay.
Yeah, and so I think that people realized that like the first section, so you go up that, you go through the volcano, you head down, and then you do the like dirty Sorpresa, and then up the KOM reverse. Like that really does determine the rest of the race, because from there it's flat, essentially flat.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't think I would have stayed on with with the group up the reverse KOM anyway. But I just got dropped by just enough through the volcano, and then I couldn't get back on. I really I don't know if you were watching, Sean, but I really tried.
Yeah. It's I call it the pain dangle for a reason.
Oh
That's
man.
the worst feeling. You're like 15
Oh,
meters off the back.
I don't know. I think what you described is worse, Sean, where you think you've survived the pain dangle only
Yes.
to watch the group split 5 riders in front of you, and you
It's
think you kind of arrive that you're starting to ease off the pedals, thinking, oh, like now I can finally relax, and then you just see kind of actually there was 4 riders in front of you all doing the pain dangle that you hadn't spotted. So
honestly, I think that, and this is what happened to me today, is I feel it's worse when it's one rider in front of you,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I could have easily gone around them, but I trusted them.
Yeah.
So it's right what you say about the pain being in the front of the course then, because looking at I mean, you've averaged 2.7, which on the face of it doesn't look like a very hard race. But the second half is obviously a bit more chill than the first half.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we had a group of, what was it, 5? It was you, me, Stuart, and 2 others.
yep.
So because you guys caught me
But there were
right after the Sorpresa.
There were 2 others that came up behind us who that both of us. So we went up the start of the reverse KOM,
Yeah.
and there were 2 that had come up to us. One of whom was just like, I'm just gonna ride it 4 plus, and it was like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
The ones who like they never like, for whatever reason, they don't have the top end to stick with the front out of the gate, but then they
Or did you
just,
miss
like,
the start? Like,
diesel through.
why
Yeah.
are you here?
I did genuinely. It really annoys me because it does tend to disrupt the race a bit when those people come through.
Yeah.
But I really
Did
wish
you-
I'd understand how they appear. Is it just that you've got wheel-on trainers that are really badly calibrated, or who knows?
Did he end up breaking or did he hold it?
Oh, he ended up a minute ahead of us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But there was another guy who we were with going up the steep start of that, who got 2 seconds or whatever in front of us, and both Craig and I are looking at each other like, you do it.
Yep.
And as soon as one of us went to close, the other one was gonna like snap onto the wheel.
Yeah.
neither of us had it to just do the work. And he ended up bridging up to that other guy, and they both ended up a minute ahead of us.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I don't think I couldn't have stayed with them.
Yeah.
That was hard. Yeah, it was only 2.7 average. Like there were some sections that were not too bad, but I felt like I got so far in debt at the beginning that I don't know if I could have done a lot more.
So it was 2.7 average, but I was at 3.4 for 16 minutes for the first
Yeah.
16 minutes. Uh, like 4.5, 5 for the first 3 minutes. Like it started real hard. And so there was a lot of chasing, and then there was never really a recovery point until coming down off of the reverse KOM. And
how how fast are you guys going through the desert? Like sub 40?
oh, it was slow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like
it was not
like
fast.
46:31 is like sub 40 kph average, which
Uh, it was 37, 38 through, like our little
Yeah.
group did 37 or
yeah.
38 through the desert.
Anybody who's
Uh,
curious about how accurate our description is, I streamed it, so
yeah.
you can check up on me.
So
I'm
there
just
was,
I'm looking at your intervals page, and you go to -5 on your
I
uh,
did, and
we both,
it was -5. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die.
and then it
All
was,
right.
yeah. So I do think that like it did make the rest of the race fun that things went a little slow through the desert.
Yeah,
Because for the last several minutes, the little group of us, the like five of us, had recovered enough to start kicking each other in the legs.
yes.
There was some sprints in Ocean Boulevard trying to like break people off the back. That like
Well,
the
because
end did
you
get
sprinted on the
spicy.
downhill to get to Super Tuck,
Yeah. Uh,
and yeah, and then that broke one guy off the back, and then he came through, and then I jumped on his wheel and you jumped on mine, but then the group came back together. Then we went hard out of the tunnel, and yeah.
I will say it is a little, and I don't know if anybody else has occasional power dropouts. Uh, it is really frustrating when you have a power dropout, and I only have them a second or two at a time. It's really frustrating when you get them right at the peak of your sprint when you're trying to catch Craig's wheel with a draft power up.
Well, so I saw, because I was about to go. I'm like, "Ah, should I go now? Should I go now?" Then I saw you hit the draft, and I'm like, I'm going now. And then, so I started and then hit my arrow.
Yeah, so it was actually pretty instructive, at least for me, that I still need a lot of work on my sprint timing and positioning. I can do
Okay.
the power, but yeah, like I think that power wise, I did a better sprint than Craig did, and I
Yeah.
ended up a second and a half behind him.
Yep.
Did you go
Uh,
way too early?
no, he
No,
went
I went first.
yeah,
Oh,
I
oh.
mistimed it, and I waited for him to go because I was like, I got a draft thing, I need to be, but I could never get into his wheel, and it was over from there.
Hmm. Both of you steering?
I did
No
not have
steering.
steering. Neither of us
I
had steering, actually. So I have steering, but I forgot to pair it.
oh, I find with the draft power up, you got to send it early, right? It's better like in the lead in to the sprint. Like in the actual sprint, too much craziness happens. You're going
Yeah.
around guys, all
Yeah.
kinds of nonsense. So,
But
you
you
know,
did that. So
oh,
what I think, Sean, you needed to do in that group with that power up, because this was a group of five, you knew that I was going to sprint. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. I think you needed to go early and make me cover you, then get in my draft and trigger your power up because I didn't know what power up you had.
Yeah.
I think you needed to go at the left turn and then make somebody cover you and then go.
So my other thought was, and this was, I even had Steve in my ear when we hit the little bump out of Ocean Boulevard. I heard Steve going, panache, panache.
That's actually, in fairness, I've beaten groups that size with the panache attack from there.
Yeah. But
But you have to like commit, and you
I
have.
wasn't
I
letting
think it's like,
anybody go at
yeah,
that point.
So to be fair, like we did do 10 seconds at 10 watts a kilo out of the
Yeah.
out of like up that little kick.
Yeah.
The group was still together, at which point it was like I don't have that much panache.
yeah, you have to have a group that too busy watching each other and not wanting to chase you, and with
Yeah.
your kind of
No,
sprint.
it seemed like everybody wanted to sprint but nobody sprinted to the point where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going.
Yep. Anyway, it's a fun course because you've got that first 15 minutes, I mean 5 to 15 minutes to figure out what's my group.
Yeah.
And then from there, it becomes tactical within your group. Can you chase down a group ahead or behind, or like wait for the group behind? There were times like going into the desert, we had 15 seconds on a group behind, and I was going to let Craig work because the group behind was working harder than we were. And it was like, they're going to catch. So I'm going to let him burn himself out if he wants. And yeah, you get those little.
So at this point, I was taking 1 minute because Sean and I were not on I was on Discord. Sean didn't join me. So I was taking 1 minute turns trying to see whether Sean wanted to fight these guys or not. And he didn't, so I kind of didn't go very hard on the next turn.
Yeah, I was also in the negative, so
yeah, no, it was hard.
But yeah, really fun course, fun race. Always fun getting out and racing other herd riders. I did feel a little bad when we unceremoniously booted Stewart from the group out of the desert, but
where did he drop?
Saddle Springs?
It was coming out of Saddle Springs, yeah.
Yeah, it was right at the top of Saddle Springs. We did drop him too, didn't we? I forgot about that. So it was only 4 of us to the line, yeah.
That's a surprising place to get dropped that late in a race.
Well, I think he was working harder through the desert than we were.
And we had dropped him a couple of times and he kept coming back with with other groups. So he had been
playing the accordion
close. Yep. He was doing the pain dangles
a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, some good herd riders also notice it while watching the stream. Corey gets DQ'd for not wearing a heart rate monitor, but the race was won by Tour de France pro who rode the Tour de France here last year. French guy. Yeah.
I saw that Prado had only come 5th, so I knew there were some riders there.
Yeah. 5.3 average, 60 kilo guy won it.
Oh yeah, a total energy rider.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were doing my PB through the KOM based on the segment times. Like they were sub 340. Some of my PBs at 341.
Oh.
Well, yeah, that rider did 6.2 for 5 minutes. So
probably the first 5.
And he's only level 61. Well, he's probably
only So Sean, I don't know if you caught the chat byplay before the race where Prado told me to just hold on his wheel.
Yes.
Did you see that I did out of the pen? We were
I-
1 and 2 out of the pen.
I did
I
not.
watched the live stream of it. Yeah, you were hanging on to it.
But that was as far as it was going to go.
I was like, come on, keep going, Mark.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But
All
yeah,
right.
of
So get out and
the
race. Sounds like a fun race.
It,
Of the
it
top
really
eight?
was. And you know what? I love this race course. I love it. I really love it with HSRL scoring, but it's a really good scratch race too. So, yeah, this is a fun race course because, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard at the beginning if people push it hard, and then you have a bit of recovery, and then you have an interesting finish. So, yeah.
What kind of
Yeah,
bikes did you guys ride? Oops, sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
the middle does get is a little long and samey because it's just just the desert, but man, that was needed.
Oh my God, was it?
Like I do think that it looks like that makes it boring, but I think that actually made the finish more interesting than it would have otherwise been because if it just went straight to the finish without that, like it's just who has anything left.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the Pinarello with discs.
Yeah, and I was the S5 2020 with the disc. So I went a little more aero than Sean. But
All of these are perfectly viable options.
Yeah.
Basically something slippery and fast. There's a lot of race and it's not that steep ever.
And yeah.
You're going to be doing even 30 kph up the hilly reverse probably as hard as those guys are going and stuff. Like if you hit it, you can easily carry 30 through the top of that, I think.
yeah, and yeah, our group didn't really hit that hard at all. That was pretty tame. We were
dead.
450-ish, I think, or 448, 450. Yeah, we were not fast.
Good. All right, and I think if you will, I guess if we get into the news a little bit, but I think if you get this in after the update, you're going to get a root badge thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes,
Even
I did get a root
even
badge.
even
There you
race
go.
one was a root badge. So
There you go. It's a new root badge. All right, let's go into herd beginner racing this week is the Fan Flats. Who's got the number of laps?
3 laps for the A to C band, the 3 highest bands, and two laps for the 2 lowest bands. Nate says for those 3 upper bands should be around 30 minutes, and for the slowest group for the 2 laps, the slow times should be also 30 minutes. So yeah, as flat as almost as flat as you can get on Zwift. So fastest thing you got, and draft like hell and sprint.
Yeah, don't be fooled by the really long lead in, which is basically one extra lap.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
All right, Clemmer's Gambit stuff.
Yeah. Another one-off weekend. After last week's, we did a combined time. This week we will do slowest fast or fastest slowest variant with put it on Decadash with 3 times up the Jarvis KOM reverse, and it's your slowest time that counts. So yeah, pacing game, or you can make it a 3 by 2 to 4 minutes workout from it.
So I will say, Steph, this is a truly evil format that Chris came up that you are perpetuating.
He would be proud.
Yes.
I raced with him last Friday on HWR, so he's at least getting some time in.
Good.
Yeah, he's being more active.
I love the fastest slowest format and might need to race this one tomorrow because I think that when we were doing this, when there was like a whole series of the fastest slowest, I think I realized I'm the pacing king.
Mm, yeah.
Are
Yeah.
good.
No, it's a
Yeah,
Three
great
significant
format, but it's
figures.
evil.
Yeah,
It's
it's a great
rough. You
one.
gotta have a good sense of where you're at and like
Yeah.
I guess with
It,
this lap is a little long. Like you're not it's not, immediate. You have to do another rate, another I think the hardest one is the rooftop KOM repeats because they like
Mm.
yeah,
you go right back up.
A minute
yeah,
if you're lucky. Yeah.
And you
it's
can't even
about
really stop because you won't stop on the and you want to carry speed in.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that one's rough.
This one, there's
yeah,
some time in between the
Yeah.
efforts.
yeah. It's I think it's like a 5.5-ish loop. So you have about 4Ks in between a rest or recovery. So, like I said, could be used as a workout.
That's my plan. Yep. It's a VO2 workout.
Yeah, and still in the works for what our plan is. But if we're going to do more alternating series, that's a bit my plan for Climber's Gambit to have. If we do like, I don't know, 6 weeks series, do two of each, two normal ones, two combined, and two fastest slowest, or another variant that I find, but just keeping that interest for everyone in mixing it up a bit. But more a rough draft, but that's where my mind is now for Climbers Gambit series if we're putting into our new herd form. But
And
I
I think
like
it's a TT
the
bike. Cool.
yeah, probably there are two steepest pinches, but it's I think you can have enough speed for it to keep it up.
Good. Mountain Goats this week is on Bambino Fondo,
Ooh.
which is 52.6 kilometers. Includes hilly forward KOM, the jungle, and ends at the top of the volcano. So have fun with that, you crazy mountain goat people. Uh,
Yeah, it was you will mention it, but for Stampede, you have something interesting cooked up.
yeah, so the Stampede this week is on the classic, so it's also on Jarvis, but we're gonna score it so that you get it's 100 points based on who's the fastest on the whole route, and then 100 points based on who's the fastest on the KOM, and your combined points is like your combined score. So if you're the fastest on the route and the fastest on the KOM, you'll win. But if you're fast on the route but second fast on the KOM, it might all balance out depending on and across all the different 6 race slots. So Alan Richardson has a spreadsheet that'll work it all out, and he'll post it after we're done, and we'll see. I mean, in some
Wow.
ways, if you're fastest on a KOM on a TT, you're probably going to be the fastest on the route, but not necessarily,
Probably.
especially for some
Yeah.
big watt monsters and stuff. Like there's a lot of flat still. So it's about 8.8K total for the thing. And the
It
KOM is
is
2.
that is interesting enough to me that like I might race the Stampede. Like I because I am it's an interesting optimization problem. Like for someone who probably doesn't have the best like long power, but can hold, you know, threshold for the rest of the time and has like I'm a big guy, I've got pretty good long power, but can maybe do a better short effort up the KOM. Like, do I really send it up the KOM and try and get a good time there and like hold it on the rest? Because like I may not lose as many places as I could gain from the other part. Like, yeah, it's an interesting challenge.
It's a whole
Well,
new
and
format,
with it,
right? It's a points ITT essentially.
yeah, and with the kind of interesting thing is that with it being like points instead of like GC, it's not like it's not like you can kill it on the KOM. Like you just want to finish just a little bit in
Mhm.
front of
Yeah,
the next guy. You know what I mean? You don't want to like kill it. So it's
Mhm.
kind of interesting like that. So
yeah, it was
yeah,
about because you have the option in Swift Power to do the combined time of raise and a segment. But yeah, with the points, it's you can even be a second faster, but yeah, get the extra points, so it's doesn't
yeah,
really matter.
and you can't like I was thinking if you could set up a league, but I don't think you could just put all 6 races of the week into a league or whatever. But I don't think you can do that with points like this on the KOMs or cross races. Is how I
I don't
Is
know
that why
about
he's
point.
using a spreadsheet?
yeah.
Yeah.
Think so. You can use the time like Climber's Gambit, but yeah, which I've been doing now just for the regulars to just have a general classification for the few people that still do Climber's Gambit. But
All right, and then class bullseye is going to be another week of Class E. Craig, you're just leaving it running.
So it is Classic. I didn't change it to Classic last week.
Oh,
So it is now changed. It will be Classic. 4 laps, 5 sprints next week.
very good.
Um,
Excellent. Good. All right, moving on. We're going to do news next. And I think the only real news we want to do is there is another Zwift update. Mostly, I think it's mostly route badges.
Yeah, so we've got 7 new badges. I think the kind of cool things are that there's some event-only routes that are now available to free ride. So we got 7 new routes, or 7 new route badges, sorry. Um, and we've also, they announced 5 new routes upcoming. So you've got ZG25 Queen in Watopia, Downtown Eruption Watopia, London Uprising in London, Scotland Smash also in Scotland, and Mercury Madness surprisingly in Mercury. So no details on what those routes are, but Zwift Insider
okay,
guess they're being used for the upcoming Zwift games.
yeah, I was about to say because there was that initial of that first one said G25. That's indeed there is another Swift games probably incoming.
And because it's labeled the Queen means it probably ends at least on Epic, if not Alp.
Uh, I
Uh,
this is another piece of news that has trickled out, but that was not announced directly, has been addressed in the forums that there has been a change in the pack dynamics, uh, but it was essentially shadow changed, like on the server side to test things out. Um, I think that Craig probably has been following this pretty closely. But yeah, it seems like the main thing that they're interested in is um, making it so that it's easier for you to just pass another rider by if you are um, going faster than them. So you just kind of steer out and around them. That it's now harder to move through another rider left to right. So there's essentially you are blocked from just moving through a group. Um, and that there is maybe more uh, draft seeking behavior in your avatar so that you follow a draft more than in the previous iterations.
yeah.
It
So
was specifically added for group rides and has been specifically not added for races yet. But personally, I'm excited for the possibility of this getting added to races as a non non-steering rider.
yeah. Um, so yes, that's really good because I was following that, and the Zwift developer who was engaging in the forum, I don't know exactly what they do as far as development, but the guy that was engaging the forum said that the last version they had basically your avatar was only looking across about 70%. So if you
Yep.
were already on one side and somebody was on the other side, they could just go and you would never move over behind them. So yeah, the fact that it'll actually look across the whole space now, that's much better. Um, I think it's pretty clear that very little of the drafting behavior it actually resides in the client. So it's
Yeah.
not those changes are not linked to the version changes, and they can change them per world. It looks like,
And per event.
and per event, yes. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting. Well, so we already knew that because you could make an event double draft, basically for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been around for a long time. But yeah, it's very clear from what they've shared with us on the forums now that they can play around with draft behavior and pack behavior without updating the content. So,
I
It's a shame
noticed the
because
ba-
I managed to gap a group once, taking advantage of the fact that everyone steered over to the right and didn't really attack. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to attack up the left without my steering. And we managed to get a split in the group because
Yeah.
of that.
um, definitely, I saw in my ladder race this week, um, another team trying some very interesting tactics with a rider moving all the way to one side trying to get a break, and then another rider riding beside me so I couldn't move over, and
Huh.
I was stopped from moving over. So yeah, there's already teams using this, so there's always somebody that learns it first, but it's definitely possible to stop someone from getting in the draft by
Interesting.
sitting next to them. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I
I
streamed
noticed that
on
limitation
Monday.
in the Rafa rides.
Yeah.
Really, like it really struck me. Like it used to be you could just steer into the group if you got sort of pushed off on the side, you could steer back in. And it just gave you that little force field. Like, nope, you're not going anywhere. You're going to sit on the outside of this, giant group of 90, 100 people.
Yeah.
I'll be frank. My impression of that post is that most of what they're actually trying to do is make it look better. Like they just don't want people to have the impression that they're sort of like this amorphous, like
Blob. Yeah.
you're just riding through people in the blob all the time. But like you got to ride around the blob or you got to be behind the blob. You just can't sort of like phase between
But,
people. I mean, I get
but,
the
but,
steering draft piece is a little more like functional to the game, but the rest of it is mostly a cosmetic thing.
It
Although
is.
having to ride around someone is not like you're gonna now have to get out of the draft to go around someone, right? Like I think
Mhm.
it used to be like you just ride through someone and you kind of draft until you hit the front. Now you're gonna have to go out or at least like less draft, right? Because I'm sure there's
So
like a bit of a cone.
So yes
I
and no.
I actually think that there there is not necessarily a difference between making it look better and making the physics right.
I'd agree
So
with that.
I think that if they figure out how to make it look like a real world pack would move, it means and they like, you're paying attention to the right, your avatar is paying attention to the right things and like getting the draft in the right ways from the people that are around you. Like that's kind of what we want, right? Like then you do move, like you move through the group as you would in a real group, and like obviously you don't, there is some, some proportion of the group is steering, and like how your individual rider moves is based on your legs rather than um necessarily steering at all times. But like that's, yeah, I don't think that there's necessarily a disconnect there.
Except that there's no marshals relegating someone because their lead outrider rode their rival over to the side.
Yeah, or people who are just like weaving across the road and
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's some gameisms for sure, but I mean, the gameisms can be just ridden past too. They don't. When somebody started really weaving, it seemed like they kind of stopped affecting other people as much. It looks like they put a little bit of logic in there for that.
Well, there must be something for like intersections because I still sometimes will ride through somebody at an
Yeah,
intersection. So it must just like shut it off at that point.
I think so. Well, and it's not firm. Like it's not that you can never ride through anybody else,
Right.
but it
You're
does
just less likely
seem
to, yeah.
It
yeah,
pushes
it
you
does seem
toward.
like there's more situations where
Yeah.
riders are solid.
Yeah,
So it
it's more.
sounds.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was about to say it's more realistic. Like there's the game detects there's something there for preventing you to move up, and maybe with the intersection it's due to that what Steve mentioned that Zwift is built on different sections, so it can't detect while riders are moving through an intersection. Yeah, who knows?
I will say you have all probably ridden with the new pack dynamics changes, and maybe not even noticed. And that was kind of their goal was,
Yeah.
honestly, if we can get it out and we can see that it is doing the things we want it to do, but no one else is complaining about how, oh, this has ruined everything about how we feel things are working. Like it has been, I think, for the last couple of months on a lot of, like, if you were riding with any of the pacer bots, you were probably riding with these new pack dynamics
In Watopia.
in Watopia. Yep. But like, I think that I probably did most of my uh, Festive 500 with this new pack dynamics, and I didn't say like, oh, this is something's different here.
Yeah, so I definitely found something different on Monday but that was I find in the 8 or 10 rider ladder race, it's a lot more apparent.
Yeah.
But aren't those like the races aren't supposed to have it yet?
There's definitely some differences. I don't know
Okay.
if they've
But
got
I
it yet or not, but
wonder if a
yeah.
Yeah, I guess
ladder
maybe ladder counts
categorizes
as a
a
group ride, or yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but my ladder race on Monday was definitely different in that, yeah, somebody went right to the inside and went hard. I was caught to the outside of somebody who was riding next to me and the
Yeah.
same speed, and I got caught 3/4 the way out to the outside, and I couldn't get past him without
Interesting.
either slowing down or speeding up.
Which is really good. I mean,
That's
No,
Yeah.
I don't think this is bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really frustrating in that moment, but
Yeah.
like it is
that's
cool.
bike racing. Like I've
Yeah.
done I've done events where you finish in an open road sprint, and I've been boxed in. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
I've been boxed in by somebody's teammate, and that's just bike racing. It's like so.
Yeah.
I do like
But yeah,
I think the two things they specifically mentioned are the weaving side to side, which I just thought like it may be realistic, but it just felt a bit shit, really, didn't it? That somebody could just weave side to side and you'd lose the draft. And it would be a bit harder. And people would do like always hug the center line, and it would take ages for your avatar to get there, even if they weren't attacking and you didn't have steering. So I do think there should be some advantage to having the steering peripheral, whether that's that you can make a more dynamic attack. I think it would be a bit rubbish if you were kind of like always jumping in behind riders, but I kind of like where they're going with this, which is to make it a bit more sticky and to try and remove some of that weaving side to side.
And the fact that they're not announcing it is an interesting sociological experiment because, I mean, I think we can all remember when Pack 2.0 and 2.1 and all, like they would pre-announce these changes and then everybody'd sort of yammer about like what they didn't like about the changes. And then This they just kind of slipped in on us and said, "Ah, you've been riding this for a few weeks.
Yeah.
What do you think?"
Yeah,
they haven't even asked really, I guess, right? Just on the forum, somebody mentioned it.
yeah. So well, no, they did ask in the forum,
Did they ask on the forum? I
yeah.
missed that part.
But
But yeah, how many people or how many percentage of the with the public it's visiting the forums? I never do it. Only for it was for my Zwift ride. I was checking some things, but I usually don't check these things. So, and like Sean mentioned, it's probably a good thing that they announce it under the radar, and if no one complains about it or there are few complaints, it's done its job. It's it done the job that they wanted. So yeah.
yeah, no, and I don't have any big complaints, but I definitely saw a difference. So yeah, it's different.
One other small change that has been made that I think is maybe an under the radar thing, but that could be a big quality of life improvement for a lot of people is that the route estimates, like how long it's going to take you to ride a route,
Yeah.
is now customized and personalized to your FTP based on approximately what it would take for you to ride it at about 75% of FTP.
That's
So
awesome.
when you look at the like route page, it gives you an estimate of how long that route will take based on how long it'll take you to ride it.
Yeah, that is a big improvement for a lot of people, especially new people, honestly.
Absolutely. Good. All right. In lieu of Round the Horn this week, we are going to talk about the Omnium.
Omnium!
The Omnium is back. It is coming next weekend, so it's basically Friday slash Saturday, Saturday slash Sunday. I'm gonna call it January 18th and 19th next weekend. The Omnium is essentially a race series format for a weekend where each day you do 3 races of varying formats within a very short period of time, about 2 hours. And then the next day you do it all over. Well, you do 3 different style races, also in about something less than 2 hours, essentially. So Mary Align has put together a very quote unquote fun series of races for us to all do next weekend. There are there's 3 different times essentially, and the idea is to like don't swap between your time slots, right? So whatever time slot you start day 1 on, do the same time slot for day 2. They start 24 hours apart. So the idea is that everybody's getting the same rest, everybody's getting the same stuff. I mean, if you're jammed up and you have to do it, whatever. But you're not going to get scored. But you're going to get 0 for day 1 and whatever on day 2, or vice versa. So like basically everyone's going to get scored against their category in their time slot. We've got I don't know how we want to call these. There's an APAC time slot that is 12 o'clock. I think it's Australia Eastern Daylight Time. There's an EMEA time slot that starts at 10 o'clock UTC, 11 o'clock Central European Time, and America's time slot that's 1800 UTC, 1300 Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So those are the 3 starting time slots. We'll talk more about the time for each of the race gaps here. And then there will be 5 categories for the ZRS bands. They're 0 to 199, 200 to 324, 325 to 449, 450 to 574, and then 575 to 1000. I would say if you're close to any of these, especially like, well, frankly, if you're close to the top end of these, race up, start up, because there's a good chance if you're at the top of one of these bands, you're going to push up.
No.
It doesn't count in ZRS?
It does not. ZRS movements will be disabled for the Omnium races. So if you're at the top,
some unscrupulous
enjoy it.
Okay, there you go. You can win.
Bottom of the category
Yeah,
Someone's people
there
have
may
suggested
be
they might tank their score by let's say 5 points,
yeah, there
thinking
may be certain
absolutely.
Pink Tron riders who have already been scheming about how to get into the band below.
I mean, if I were to
Who are
lose
you
5
looking
points
at?
and be at the top of the band below, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, let's talk about the races. So it's quite a fun, different set of races. We've got a sprint race, standard scratch race. First across the line wins for race one. Then we've got what can only be described as the FTP test, that is oh hell no. So it's the grade, but it is only the segment time up the grade. So you can go as steady as you like to the start of the grade, hammer the prime, and then finish it off.
Uh,
And then we have a
was
10.
about to say you have like 200 meters to start, so
That's the whole
it's
race
really
anyway. Yeah.
It doesn't matter
So
much. Yeah.
we have a 10-mile ITT, which is also really an FTP test, isn't it? So yeah, Twilight Harbour, pretty flat, but 10-mile ride. Then day two, points race around Glasgow Crit Circuit. So people who have done the Bullseye will be familiar with the style, that it's sort of every time you hit a segment, you have to go fast through it. But
Yeah.
different to the Bullseye, it's the time through the segment, not your position.
HSRL. Yeah.
So yeah, more HSRL. Then we have a really short ITT, Mekar Loop, so 4Ks. That is going to really hurt.
Oh.
And then a scratch race up It's a Climb to finish 30Ks.
Yeah, so I think that the two races that are gonna hurt the most are race three. So the second 15 plus minute max effort within an hour.
Mhm.
So essentially you're doing a 2x20-ish like max effort workout. And then race five, that 4K ITT
That's gonna be awful.
within, so each race is starts they start at there's a certain time slot difference for each of them. So like race 4 to race 5, you have 45 minutes. But that 45 minutes, you will be doing a 25-minute race where you're doing 10 essentially max effort or close, sprints.
Yep.
And then you get like
Wait, why
maybe
10?
15, 20-minute. Did I get it wrong?
No, it's champion sprint and glide kicker. So yeah, it's
Yep.
two per.
Oh man.
Oh, it's both segments
Yeah,
on the
5
on the
laps. So
Glasgow
you've got
Crit.
10
Okay.
segments.
Yep.
Oh,
And I think a lot of us who are, I'm going to say more cyclists than runners, will find race 5 particularly hard because it's an unknown effort. It's the kind of thing that Matt De Freitas, probably Craig, will be really good at, knowing how
Yeah.
much they can hurt, because it is that kind of 1500-meter effort, I think.
So as someone who's never run, I love a pursuit style effort.
Yeah.
I love getting out there and just burying myself for 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes.
6. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Sounds
Doing that after doing 10 sprints, half an hour before, I'm like, I think that's the race that's going to make me fall off the bike and cry afterward.
Yeah. So Steve, I will throw a disclaimer in this that I very much enjoy the 1500. I think it's a great race, but I'm not very good at it.
I think Maryline's actually been kinder than we've perhaps said to her. So if race 4 had been a bullseye style race where position across the line had counted, I think that would have been tougher, because there is the option to find a decent group and go slower in the group to get the draft to go hard through the sprint to make it
Nick
more of
the
an interval
No,
session.
this is worse. This is so much worse, Steve. You know why this is so much worse? Whether you're ahead or behind, every one of those 10 segments you've got to go for.
See, I don't mind those 10 intervals with nice rest in between. Like if that was hard in between, that would be where
So here's the downside of that. the slower you go, the less recovery you have between those two races.
Oh gosh.
Yep.
So
So just chilling and then like oh, I'll chill and then I'll sprint and I'll chill and I'll sprint. Uh, then maybe you only have 15 minutes to recover before you have to do a 6 minute max, like fall over and vomit effort.
I
yeah.
think last time I just stayed on the bike between these two events and just spun the wheels for a bit.
So
Oh, yeah.
the 25 minutes between that 4 kilometers of Mech Isle loop and that scratch eye race on It's a Climb, so
50 watts. Just spinning at 50 watts.
like, oh my God, that last race, I'm gonna be dead.
And it finishes with a like hard double climb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nobody's going to go hard until the climb starts. I mean, there is some respite, I feel like.
Oh.
I mean, people will go hard, but like,
John,
like,
have you
I
ever
think-
done these before?
yeah, I did them last year.
Oh my, no, there's always some guy
There's somebody's
who's not
gonna
done
go.
any of the
Yeah.
other races. And
Yeah.
then somebody's in his draft and then everybody has to go and
I'm going to take my time on that last one.
no,
Because
yeah,
that
no,
fifth
this is
race
this is a truly evil tradition that James started, and I'm glad we're continuing.
Does anybody have a favorite of the race types?
That I actually like? No. Not when it's part of the Omnium. When it's part of the Omnium, they all are so horrible. But it's
So
probably
Go ahead.
it's probably the sprint race.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think
first
race,
and you're
race
fresh.
1 and 4 for me. Yeah, I think the sprint race is going to be interesting because that's going to be expend minimal effort in your group, and that's going to be really interesting to see. All joking aside, where I end up Swift Racing score. So if you're at the top of a group, you could end up. I'm not going to make that race hard at all. I'm just going to go. I think I can try and win near the end. If you're at the bottom of a group, that just could be a hard race. So.
You guys are all like in categories. I'm a 619 rider. I'm racing everybody. Like it's HWR with no other slow guys to like make the draft bigger.
and we won't be able to
honestly, I
see
think
other categories. Is that the setup?
depends. It says in the thing, right? If
Yeah, so
like, for
in some
instance, race
formats
only
you
your
can, and some
category
you
is
can't.
visible.
Okay.
But like I think my strategy on the sprint race might be not sprint at all. Like just like
Yeah.
hold
Just
on to the
get
group and
there.
hope it's basically a time trial again. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm not gonna win it anyway. And then like save my legs for hill climb and TT because maybe I've got a prayer of
I
not
think Sean
getting
and I are
absolutely
near the
murdered
top
in
of
those two.
category 3, right?
I'm midway.
You're kind of mid. I'm towards the
Yeah.
top. Yeah.
To go back to your question, John, the rule of thumb is if you can see other categories, you won't be able to draft them.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you won't be able to draft them even if you can see them. Oh,
Did you guys already do bike choice on Mega Isle?
We haven't done any of them.
'Cause I
oh,
think it's gravel bike.
Interesting.
It might be, or it
gravel's
might not
over.
be. I'm not sure.
Is it too fast for a gravel bike?
I
It's
think
half,
it's fast
half
for
up,
a
half
yeah.
down.
I think it's
Yeah, but-
I think
half
it's
with some
TT bike.
tarmac.
Yeah.
I think it's TT,
Uh,
Brent.
Yeah, I think it's too fast on the dirt on the downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I think it's a
We did
bike
this
change. Everyone should bike swap.
In four clay.
Everyone except
Yeah.
that should bike change.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah,
I think the rest of them
So-
are pretty straightforward, but
personally, I think that one of the types of races, and I've said this several times, but I do think that two of the race types that don't get enough play and that I love that we get in here on the Omnium every year, at least for this one, is a pursuit style race, so a 4K, 3K
Yep.
ITT.
Yeah.
And this one I think is still impossible to actually run right, but a kilo, like a 1 kilometer all out, like
Yep.
it's a minute plus for most of us, but max sprint essentially. Like I think that those are some fun, real, they're track events that I love watching people really wreck themselves on the track. Like I think that the kilo in particular is if you really want to vomit on a bike, that's the best way to do it. But yeah, I always love seeing the 4K ITT in here. Um, I think we did 3K one of the years. Uh, like maybe the first year we did the Omnium, it was a 3K ITT.
Yep.
But
It was, yeah.
On Tempest. So it was
Yeah,
just
it was
straight
just
up.
flat.
Yep.
Have we thought about doing an event which, going to Sean's kilo idea, the closest you could get to it would be an event where only your time through the sprint counted. And you did something like the railway is long, but it's a bit downhill, or Fuego Flats, which is 500 meters. You turn draft off. I don't know
Oh
what to
man, that's
say.
evil.
Yeah. So
Like,
it's
that's
a bit
essentially
like
a 30-second,
a
but
bit like
that's
a
500
garbage
meters.
bucket, yeah,
Yeah.
but through a sprint segment.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Brent, is
Just need to
500
petition
500
James.
meters a prime number?
We need to petition James for a 1 kilometer 1 kilometer long sprint somewhere, don't we?
Yeah, that would be great.
I guess like kind of like leg snappers awful close.
It is the closest thing, but that ends up being a watt per kilo rather than a
Straight up power. Yeah.
yeah.
So 499 is prime, so you know.
Same with the two breakaway races. They are about sub-minute effort, but yeah, that's also in between watts per kilo and raw watts.
But yeah, I do think that I mean I don't know this, but I do feel like at some point Zwift will probably cave to the pressure of the people who want a velodrome, and then we'll have a kilo. But uh like
Can't
I
we
do-
have it? Can't we just do it on the running track on downtown?
Well, or how far is like the village loop or something like that?
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Or like how far is it, or 2 laps around the roundabout at the bottom of the grade?
yeah. If we can do it with the speed from descending the grade, we're gonna have so many kilo records broken.
Ooh, that would be
Hitting
interesting.
it at 70 kph at
Yep.
the beginning.
Yeah, I think like that hill climb one, like I wouldn't even try and set a PR on that one.
Yeah, so
Like, I would do it.
we'll probably get more into this next week, but I'm really interested in how people are thinking about pacing these, because that combo of the hill climb and the 10-mile ITT is going to be brutal. And like, if you try and do a PR on the hill climb and then have to do, so you'll get half an hour essentially of recovery. Is that half an hour enough to do another 20 to 30 minute, like 10-mile ITT effort?
Yeah, but how much do you have to back off?
Exactly.
Is it?
Do we do it at 97%? 95%?
Well, I was actually going to say, is it 3%? 3% is a lot.
Yeah, we had. I
You're
think.
talking 100.
Yeah, it's interesting because a couple of months ago, it's not really the same, but we had the hill repeats on Oh Hill No, and I know Steve and I had a totally different strategy. I went full out on the first hill, and gave everything I had for the second hill, and he tried to pace it at an equal pace. So it's can be quite interesting to see, and that had basically no recovery because basically you were down in like I don't know 5 minutes. You had to start again. So
Yeah, that was mean.
And do we have to start thinking about fueling for that last race? Like you've been on the bike for an hour and
That I
plus.
think is the
Yeah.
you've got 15 to 30 minutes in between each event. I think you really need to be throwing carbs in your face during that
Yeah.
time.
It's that scratch race before that's melted my brain with how you plan for this. If you said to me, plan doing the grade and then a 30-minute or a 10-mile ITT, 15 to 30 minutes afterwards, then I'd go, yeah, that's probably just FTP for both. But having done a scratch race beforehand, I don't know. Like this is where it gets tough because you're looking at what probably like for me probably around 45 minutes if I did my best times on the grade and that time trial at the end. So 45 to 50 minutes. Probably should be able to just do FTP for that long, especially if you're having a little rest in the middle. But having done a scratch race into that,
Essentially a
yeah,
15-minute scratch race too. So
yeah.
you've got an
Mhm.
hour of race time. Yeah, I'm excited. I love this one weekend a year of like really hurting my legs.
Like
well,
Christmas for your legs.
will be interesting
No,
because
I
this
do
will.
have to announce, unfortunately for Brent and everybody else that wanted to see this, I will be home and I won't be doing this on my BMX bike.
No.
I will
Ah,
promise I will set this up and I will do this. I will do something on my BMX bike and stream it at some point for everyone's
Can
amusement.
you just do the grade on your BMX bike?
No, no,
The
I will
Mech
not, and I
Isle
will
loop,
not.
I think that would be perfect for the Mech Isle loop. You're only going to be going all out for 4, 5, 6 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
Or that points race on Glasgow Grid because they were essentially 30 minutes, 30-second effort
That's
or
true.
whatever.
Honestly, your 30-second efforts, you probably do best on your BMX
oh,
bike anyway.
right, right.
I think that's way like how long an effort do you do on it? How much time are you pedaling on a BMX bike? Like it's super short.
So I think I looked, and very rarely do I actually do more than 8 pedal strokes in a row. 12, I think, is the most I've really done on my track. So yeah, no, it's a completely different effort.
Yeah, no.
I get rests in between each, you know,
First.
2 to 3 second effort.
Yeah.
Really, 3 seconds is a long time on a BMX track.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah, will definitely be interesting because probably it's gonna be my first Herd Omnium, but noticed after doing before Rafa was a bit sick and still feeling now doing some races are still missing that sustained power. So will be interesting for this. Hope I can get some more of that fitness in a week's time, but we'll see how it goes.
good stuff. Well, we hope, like, listen, I guess we'll just put like the call to action out there is like, listen, if you're listening to this, you're obviously first, probably a hardcore herd rider. If you're in groups, teams, other people, encourage them to show up, get them to show up. The more, if
Yeah.
we get good, I mean, listen, number one, it's fun. It's fun. The more people that are in it, it's more fun. Number two, the
Yeah.
more people get showing up to this, the more we're going to be able to like probably get it like onto the public calendar. And I would say sign up to the events like as soon as after this weekend as you can see them,
Yeah.
because honestly, I think if we got like 30 signups in each event, they would put it on the public calendar and even more
Absolutely.
people might show up. So, you know, talk to your friends, sign up early, and you know,
And
if
I
you're
will
in other
say, like,
teams,
this has been it's really fun trash talking all of the people that you race against or race with regularly and are
Yeah.
now like you're all in the same competition with each other. Like the ZRL chats end up being a lot more fun this weekend because everyone's racing against each other, and yeah,
Yeah.
good
And
I'm
time.
ladder
ladder now.
captain,
I
don't
mean,
schedule
ladder
11
wasn't really a
things.
thing a year ago, or not a big
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the middle of ZRL. I booked myself off ZRL week 2. Good. All right. I think on that note, we will say thank you to John Keenan. Thank you to Sean Fogenberg. Thank you to Steve Pritchard. Thank you to Steph Jen. Thank you to Craig Martin. Thank you to everybody listening at home. Thank you to everybody doing Herd races. Enjoy your weekend racing, everybody. Moo and good night.